All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is our last activity for this unit. And being that we just had an election here in the United States and this unit is on political patterns and processes, I thought it would be almost criminal for me not to have us look at our own election and our election process, right? So this is the U.S. 2020 election. All you need to know about the presidential race. There is an article that you're going to need to read. And then you're going to write a 2-paragraph summary, which is 5 to 7 sentences per paragraph. Now, if you look at the article, it's kind of big, not ginormous, but it's also not tiny, right? So you're going to need to read all this. What are the main parties? What's happened so far? What are caucuses? Do both parties hold primary? How does voting work with stay-at-home orders? When exactly will Trump face a challenger? How does a candidate win the general election? What's the Electoral College? What are swing red and blue states? How long do voters have to cast ballots? What happens if no one wins the Electoral College? What happens after a winner is announced, right? So this is actually a little old, right? Because like the thing, when will President Trump face with a challenger? So this was obviously written before we got too far into the election process, but it still has a lot of good information in it. So each one of these sections, if you write a couple sentences about each section, kind of telling me what's going on there. By the time you finish describing each section, you should have your 2 paragraphs, right? Like there's not like a particular thing you have to write for one paragraph versus the other. You're basically just giving me information about what you read, right? You're giving me a summary of what you read, but I need 2 paragraphs worth of summary. Like I don't want people to just give me something that's like elections happen because reasons, which I know some of you are laughing right now, but I've received, paragraphs that are very similar to that. So, like I said, right here, 1 or 2 sentences about each section should be enough. I think there's like 8 or 9 sections. So if you do, 1 to 2 sentences per section, by the time you get done, that should be anywhere from, 10 to 16 sentences, which would be your 2 paragraphs, right? Here's the article, it's from BBC. Here are some unfamiliar text. If there's a word that you don't know, that is where you can find those informational things there. And some of the stuff is like stuff that you only run into whenever you're talking about election. Like a campaign, we know what that is, a Democrat or Republican, right? But caucuses, like that's something that you only hear about during elections. Conventions, maybe, and things like that. So, like if you look over these first before you start reading, because if you don't understand the vocabulary, it's going to be hard to understand what it is that they're talking about, and then that'll make it harder for you to write a paragraph. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is all I have on this one. It's pretty straightforward. Just read the article, write 2 paragraphs about it, and that is it. So if you have any questions or need help with anything, please let me know. You can do that through email or by coming to our Google Meets.